Hey guys, this is Market Update. We're at a crucial stage in this bull market right now because if we finish this month, and we have a few days left of it, if we finish this month with the monthly candle ending above the previous all-time high price, that has typically indicated a extremely strong move to the upside for Bitcoin. You can see each of the previous bull markets, what's happened, and so we'll go through that in this video. So we have a few days left of the month. Currently, the candlestick, these are monthly candlesticks I'm looking at here. We need it to finish above the previous all-time high price, which is around 69 or 69,000, a little bit over, right? That was a wick. The month didn't finish there when we got there last time. We got rejected, and that was the end of the bull market. Now what we're doing is potentially finishing a monthly candle above that price. This is vital for the next 6 to 12 months bull market. So let's have a look at that on the longer term chart. If you do trade, you don't have a Bybit account yet, check the link below. You can get $30,000 as a deposit and trading bonus on there if you do trade. So check the details via that link. But right here, if we finish the monthly candle above the previous all-time high price, look at what's happened on the previous occasions. So as you can see here, we have the previous all-time high, which is at the upper bound, right? So we have these three lines. We have the mid orange line, which is kind of the trend regression of the Bitcoin price, the low line where bear markets get to, and the upper line where you get these, huge bull markets. So we had that coming to the blue line here, bear market. We break it, and it is not slow. It's not kind of indecision. It's literally just straight up to the top. Right? A huge, huge move. And so the previous bull market, what happened? We got a huge move to the upside. That was the pandemic. We didn't break the all-time high. But as we come into the previous all-time high here, you can see that. What happens? You break it, and it's not slow. It's just literally straight up to the top. Now look at us. We're breaking the previous all-time high again, and we've actually broken it. We have to finish here, of course, with the monthly candle. We can't get rejected or anything like that. But if we're going to follow what happens in previous bull markets, it's literally straight up to the top, which would be 130, 140K, something like that. So look, we don't know if these patterns are going to play out each and every time. Of course, there's many things that can happen, right? In fact, this shows you what happens when you get some black swan or big event in the world, right? You go back down to the bottom. That was the pandemic. Now, probably not going to have one of those in this cycle, hopefully. But, you can just see, right, what's happening with Bitcoin. And at this point, we shouldn't really be worrying about what Bitcoin is going to do, because really Bitcoin is a mirror. It's a mirror image of fiat currency debasement. That is 100% certain. So on the flip side of that, we just have to say, is Bitcoin somewhat useful as an asset and as a system for investors to use it to protect from currency debasement? The answer to that is yes, obviously, right? It's being brought on. And so what is the potential for Bitcoin to become non-useful if the network blows up or something like that? But it's been 15 years at this point. So what I want to look at here is, this is inflation. This is inflation in the States, but of course, this is the best one. Most other countries are much worse than this. Inflation doesn't go down, right? It doesn't go down, ever. Look at this. From the 1960s, inflation doesn't go down. It only goes up. It goes up quickly, it goes up slowly, but it always goes up. That's actually how the fiat system is designed. They actually tell us, overtly tell us, yes, we want 2% inflation. The real rate of inflation is like 10 to 12%, right? Because CPIs or core PCE, they change all of the things that they measure in different ways. So it's fake, it's a fake number, but even that goes up, never, ever, ever goes down. So inflation never goes down. The purchasing power of the dollar never goes up. It just goes down and down and down, right? Well, Bitcoin is the mirror image of that. So what do you think it's going to do in dollar terms? It's going to go up. It's simple as that, because it's a fixed supply asset. So what we have to say is Bitcoin going to be useful for the next 10 to 15 years? And should we just dollar cost average consistently into it? And so don't think of it as an investment or a speculation, but simply a mirror image to this. It never goes down. It never increases its purchasing power. And that's the mirror image. And so as a trade, well, Bitcoin is getting a little bit more expensive. You don't take long speculative trades up here because you're at the top of a mini cycle range. But if you're an investor who wants to save money over time and save the value of your labor and your output, you can't do it in dollars. Bitcoin is a very reliable way over the long term to do that. So at least 2 cycles or 8 years worth of consistently dollar cost averaging, just taking your fiat currency and put it into a strong asset. This Bitcoin cycle seems to be playing out exactly the same as every previous cycle. So we'll have a look at that. Now with the Bitcoin cycle, this is obviously the indicator for what happens in the crypto market as well. So as Bitcoin starts to inflect to the upside, it's following the central bank manipulation cycle, which is every 4 years. And so as this moves to the upside, during the latter stages of this bull market, you also get the riskier stuff doing really well and actually, outperforming. It outperforms in percentage terms because it's a lot smaller. Money, a lot less money in and out can obviously move the price a lot more, known as high beta. So if you play in that area of the market, that's fine. If you don't, you're really looking at the Bitcoin cycle. So the Bitcoin cycle is the signal because Bitcoin is the macro asset. And so what we're seeing is these 4-year manipulation cycles. Why do they do that? The central bank and the treasury in the States and the other versions in other countries have to work together to manipulate and bamboozle everyone in order to stuff us all with debt. All of the debts are unpayable. It would take thousands of years to pay them off, even if we could, which we can't. So all that can happen is this constant cycle of inflation, currency debasement. And what they have to do is to prevent massive social unrest and a massive economic collapse is to try and manipulate this so they have like 10% inflation a year. And they say that it's 2%, but that's not really 2% because houses and desirable assets are going up much faster. So what they do is they create this economic downturn. That's the bear market. And then they stuff all this new debt with us. That creates a load of inflation. Everything goes up again, and they have to do it again. So that's a 4-year cycle of short-term manipulation. But the long term is that they simply have to keep doing this because there's no way to pay that debt. So you have to get out and get into desirable assets, whether that's Bitcoin or anything else. Why Bitcoin? Well, because you can't buy $50 of a house per week, but you can of Bitcoin or maybe stocks if that's for you. As you can see from here, we are still very early on in this cycle compared to other cycles and their peaks. So the 2018-21 cycle peaked, around anywhere from kind of May to September. That would be this year. So if we're carrying on with this, maybe summer or autumn this year. If it goes on like this cycle, then you'd be looking at somewhere in 2025. We can see here again, these cycles are very clear. So, we get these huge expansions to the upside. These are typically the top of bull markets, so not really the time to get too excited, even though ironically that's when everyone is the most excited. Goes hand in hand with the price. But we know that the central bank's going to have to manipulate it down again in the next part of the cycle. So look, we're about halfway maybe, halfway or so. Usually you do get a little bit of a drawdown here or a bit of indecision before it really goes the other way. So we may have that again. But again, it doesn't really matter that much, right? Because you can't hold dollars, so you have to go into something else. But around halfway for this cycle. And you can see that here as well. This is the macro oscillator from Willy Woo here on Twitter. So again, we're not at the peak bull market, but we are in a bull market. That's very, very clear to see. Not peak yet. So, prices are still decent if you're thinking that we just broke the previous all-time high. Usually in bull markets, you have another leg up for the bull market, right? So we don't know when that is coming, but we would expect it. And then here, this is the comparison of demand and supply between new and old investors. Now, a bull market is when new investors come in new money comes in and wants to buy coins from older holders, and the only way they can do that is forcing the price up. So you can see that here in previous bull markets, and it's just starting again. So all of this data shows we're in a bull market, but we're in the early stages of it. So still a long way to go. For short-term traders, still a long way to go. For long-term investors, prices are getting a little bit more expensive, but still not really toppy as to what they would be at the peak of a bull market. We are in a typical bull market. Everything is showing that. We have new entrants coming in, the network is growing, and also you have the central bank in its easing part of the cycle over the next 12 months, let's say. That's great news. You're going to get price appreciation. But it's not just about one cycle. Our life is long. We have to plan for that. You can't hold the fiat. You have to be in something else, whether it's property or Bitcoin or investments like the stock market or something, right? The problem with most stock markets is that they're valued in the local currency, which is even worse than the dollar. This is the Venezuelan stock market over the last few years. It's up like 50x. Now, it's not because the companies are doing great. It's because that fiat currency is debasing and buying less of those assets over time, a lot less. That's what's happening with the dollar too, just obviously not on a big scale. Think long term about our life, what we have to do. We have to save money in something reliable, and it certainly isn't any of the fiat currencies out there. I know we're going through a bull market and everything's great, and it looks like we're making money, but of course, the dollar and other fiats will over time buy less and less and less desirable assets. If you just dollar cost average, like I said, you're getting around an 80 to 90% yearly appreciation in BTC. Even if you bought the very top of the last bull market, you did it every single peak here, you bought every week, got the drawdown, you bought that, and you bought the very top. Doesn't matter. The 4-year return is 80 to 90% a year. So maybe we don't have to worry about these bull and bear markets and everything like that. We can just potentially say, I've got money to save. I've got money to save every year for 4, 6, 8, 10 years, because you're going to have to save if you're earning, and can't be in the fiat currency. It has to be in a reliable asset. So yes, Bitcoin is in a bull market, but there will be many in the future. And as long as it stays decentralized and secure, it's going to be a reliable method to actually save value over time. You can check the Crypto Investor course for more info on that. Link down below. It's 300 videos and private Discord groups. Bybit deposit bonus down in the description as well. I'm James, it's MoneyZG. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.